That is crazy. Welcome. It's Mariah Carey and Amy. Just kidding. I'm not going to flatter myself like that.
Close enough.
Welcome. Close enough.
Welcome. Episode 29.
Spiky. Girls Gone Spiky. Guys, we have a very exciting episode tonight. We have a very exciting episode.
Twilight edition.
That's what I was going to say. You read my goddamn mind. Are you a vampire? You read my mind. Are you Edward Cullen? Is it you?
Yes. Yep.
Wasn't he a mind reader? Am I crazy?
Yeah. No, he was.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I forgot about that.
But he couldn't read Kristen Stewart. He couldn't read Bella's mind, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And then it turned
Just
out
crickets.
that she was like a shield or something when she became a vampire.
That's right. Human shield, vampire shield.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys, we're just digging in deep to our preteen, tween, just deepest desires.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Were you team?
We're wondering.
Team Edward.
Definitely Team Edward.
Okay.
Well, okay.
For
Team
Bella,
Edward
though, right?
Yeah, but no, for me. In the books.
Really?
I was
Okay.
Team Edward in the books. And then I took one look at Taylor Lautner with his shirt off, and I was like,
Yep.
Switching teams, baby.
Yep.
I was like, could we be a throuple?
Oh. Yeah. Why not both?
Maybe they're both polyamorous. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. If you're living for hundreds of years, why wouldn't you be?
No way. Are you like, oh, here's my person? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
And then don't they describe the sex scene? And like his whole body is basically like marble.
Yeah, I think they do.
And they like break the bed and shit. I want to reread those as an adult just to have a little giggle.
Yeah. Ugh, I don't know.
That is so cringe. That is so cringe. Oh,
yeah,
God.
That doesn't sound good at all. And also, there's a new one, like, from Edward's perspective.
Yeah.
That came out.
Midnight Sun.
Oh, yeah. And it was on Kindle Unlimited, which I have. So I got it, and I started reading the first, like, maybe 50 pages. It was so painful. I could not deal.
I think the first chapter got leaked, like, back when the books were still pretty new, or at least, like, I think the fourth one was out, and I was just scouring the internet for content, because I finished that book. I mean, you could ask my mom. I finished that book. I read the last one. What was the last one called? Something Dawn.
Oh yeah, Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, Breaking Dawn. So epic. Yeah. So I read it in a day, like a morning, like half a day. I just like laid in my bed all day and read the whole thing. And I went into my mom's room sobbing afterwards. And she was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I just finished this book. And now there's no more content. And my life is so boring without these characters. And she was like, you need to go outside. Are you okay? I had the same effect with like Harry Potter. Even shows like Gilmore Girls, like any show or book series that has like a very distinct like exposition, climax, resolution, like that up and down really messes with my head, because it makes life out to be like that when it's not like that. Yeah, they're like everything isn't all tied up, like it's all loose ends in real life. And I think my OCD was just like, resolution.
I love that.
So,
how funny.
Anywho, that was my experience with Twilight.
I mean, I don't remember exactly what my experience was, but I remember trying to resist because I was like, I'm too cool for this.
I'm too elevated.
Cool. I'm not cool.
I'm actually reading Chaucer right now, so I don't really have time for this. For this, like, what was it? Basically. 50 Shades of Grey fan fiction? Isn't that what it was originally? I think it was originally.
I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah. I guess it kind of makes sense.
Let me confirm. Okay. Is Twilight 50 Shades of Grey? Or maybe it's the other way around. Fan fiction.
Fan fiction.
Business Insider. This quote, 50 Shades of Grey is a sexier, erotic version of Twilight. Okay. Aggressive quote.
Wow.
50 Shades, E.L. James still profiting from Twilight fan fiction called Master of the Universe. So maybe... Okay, the novel, which is out in paperback, 50 Shades, started out as Twilight fan fiction.
Wow.
So it was the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so funny. So I guess it was called Master of the Universe, and then it became less paranormal and more BDSM.
Wow. What a journey.
Which is hot in a whole different way, you know? What a journey.
I never read those, though. 50 Shades of Grey.
I watched the movie. There was just one, right? Or are there two?
No, I think there are 2 or 3.
Oh, Lord.
I've only seen one.
Yeah, it's not very good.
No, not good.
And you see a lot of her pubic hair, and I was like, can we chill with the weird frontal side shots? Like, I'm good without that. Thank you. They had to have, I read afterwards, they had to have, sorry, this is becoming like an E-News podcast. Welcome back to TMZ. They had to use a butt double for her because she has a tattoo on her ass.
Oh.
And that doesn't suit Anastasia, the character, at all. So
I wonder what the tattoo is. Who knows?
Probably like a mom and a heart or something.
Just like Dave.
An anchor. I'm dead. My
Revealing
friend,
secrets.
I will not reveal who, because he sometimes listens to this. He has the emoji with one eye closed, like winking and the tongue out. Like the most chaotic emoji in the entire mix. He has that on his hip, inner groin hip area. And I was like, my guy, why? And he's like, think about how few people are going to see that. And then if they get to see it, I was like, okay, first of all, are you outing yourself as having a very short hit list? Just kidding. He didn't say it like that, but it was funny. He was like, it's a nice little surprise. And I'm like, shouldn't the other thing be the nice surprise? Overcompensating, maybe? I don't know. If you're listening to this, my guy, I'm judging you. No,
I like the idea. I approve.
It's funny. Yeah. I would laugh. I mean, I would laugh really hard. Yeah. And then they'd be like, what are you laughing
at? Get defensive.
And I'd be like, you guess.
Yeah.
That's for me to know and you to never find out. Okay. Getting down to business. Yep. Diving right in to the bloody pool. The pool of blood and fur. Sorry. That was efficient. What an image. Okay, guys, if you didn't guess it already, we're talking about vampires and werewolves. As if they're cats. Ow! What is actually wrong with me? Anyway, ignore my cat sound. Couple of blood-sucking fleshy cats.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
that's
Amy,
good.
You are up first, my friend.
All right.
Take us away. Jesus.
Here we go. Yep, today we're just talking about Jacob Black and no one else. So,
good afternoon to no one but Jacob Black.
Yep. So if you don't know,
Jacob Black. I wish you guys could see my hands.
Yeah, I'll take a screenshot so we can post.
No, don't you dare. I look like death.
No, you don't. Adorable.
You flattery.
Anyway, not just Jacob Black, but I'm talking about werewolves. So, werewolves, of course, are humans who have the ability to morph into a wolf. And some explanations for why. I saw a pact with the devil, possession of some sort of magical object that can aid the transformation, being bitten by a wolf, or sometimes just being born that way, which is kind of unfortunate.
Jeez.
Yeah. And werewolves are also said to undergo their transformations under the full moon. And this likely comes from the old idea that real wolves only howl during the full moon, though we now know that that's not true. They howl for many reasons, but...
Or hiss.
Yeah. Howl and hiss. Quick little aside, because I think you and anyone listening probably have heard the idea that people also tend to act crazier during the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the way this theory came out was really interesting. So both Aristotle and I think it's Pliny, or is it Pliny the Elder? Pliny. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They both presented the idea that the brain is the organ of our body that has the most water and is therefore more susceptible to influence from the moon, like the tides and the oceans. So I thought that was really cool. And then that is actually reflected in the origin of the word lunacy, luna being Latin for moon. Mm-hmm. And there we go. I thought that was really cool. I had never thought of that before.
Well, and like crazy as a loon, that probably comes from that too. I mean, a loon, I guess it's short for lunatic. But
yeah,
isn't the root for wolf also loon?
It's no, what is it?
I think it's
lupin.
Lupin in French, I think.
Or
I don't
lichen. I think.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Lichen.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Separate, just like quick little interjection that is directly related to that, like water in your brain thing. Mm-hmm. What a stupid way to summarize that, but you got
brain water. Yeah.
Brain water thing, that brain water theory. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I don't know why, like randomly I came across some like old video of his where he's talking about basically like if you think about like how we think about the tide like coming in and going out, he was like, that's not actually how it works. And he kind of like drew this like visual that showed like as the earth is moving, is spinning and moving, so is the moon. And then the way that like there's like kind of a bulge of water that's like around the earth and it's shifting as the earth is shifting. It's like moving around the earth.
Wow.
And it's like the way he shows it, you're like, oh, I'm not going to recover from this. Like it's similar to like the simulation theory. Like I rewatched that video like 5 times. I'll see if I can find it. I'll post it on the Facebook group. Okay. But I was just like,
yeah.
So that freaks me out that could be happening in your brain as well.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay.
Wild.
Yeah. I want to see. That is crazy. I feel like we've talked about this before, and I don't know exactly how it works either, but like menstrual cycle with the moon is another thing that's just so crazy to think about how much things are intertwined. Yeah. Fascinating. Okay. So moving on. Potentially the first werewolf legend is actually in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the oldest known surviving literature from around 2000 to 1000 BC. And Gilgamesh, in this story, he declines a woman's advances because she had turned her previous partner into a wolf. So that might be the first one, but then another...
Swipe left.
Yeah. Avoid that. Another early werewolf legend comes from the ancient Greeks, and it's the story of King Lycaon, I believe, as told by Ovid, who is a well-known Roman poet. And the story goes that Zeus, who we all know is like the ultimate Greek god, he had heard rumors of unholy behavior in the kingdom of King Lycaon. So he decided to check on it for himself, and he visited the kingdom in his human form. And as the day went on, Zeus revealed himself to the people as a god. So everyone that was present stopped everything to revere him and worship him, except for King Lycaon, who mocked them and demanded that Zeus prove that he was who he said he was. So
that's not a good approach.
No. He was a very prideful man, and he decided that to show people like his power, I guess, he would kill Zeus in his sleep, but not before humiliating him by serving him human flesh at dinner time. So,
bro, that's not a funny joke.
No, took like, it way too far. Fools. Yeah,
too far.
But yeah, Zeus, being a god, he saw through that right away, and so he destroyed King Lycaon's house, and he transformed him into a wolf. So Ovid's description of that goes, "Terror struck as he took to flight, and on the silent plains is howling in his vain attempts to speak. He raves and rages, and his greedy jaws, desiring their accustomed slaughter, turn against the sheep, still eager for their blood. His vesture separates in shaggy hair, his arms are changed to legs, and as a wolf he has the same gray locks, the same hard face, the same bright eyes, and the same ferocious look." And the king's name in that story, Lycaon, hopefully I'm saying that right, is the Greek word lycanthropos, or in English, lycanthrope, which is the same as werewolf, pretty much, though that term came later. Okay, so now here are some stories that are supposedly true, although, well, I don't know. These first several, they're all from like the 15 and 1600s. So as I was reading these, I was just thinking, keep in mind, this was a time where there was such a panic over witches and any other paranormal forces. And actually there was a werewolf panic that at the time was like on par with the hysteria that came with the Salem witch trials. So, I'm not saying that these aren't werewolves, but I'm also saying to keep that in mind, that people were tortured into confessions for things they didn't do. And also people were being rewarded for turning people in, even if they were making up a story. So anyway, some of these are quite violent and gruesome, so keep that in mind.
Okay.
All right. So in no particular order, this first one is in 1598, an unnamed little girl and her brother, Benoit Bidel, were attacked by a wolf while in the forest. No, not cute. They were out picking fruit in the forest, and they were attacked by a wolf. Benoit was picking fruit up in the tree, and so he saw this wolf come and attempt to snatch his little sister. So he drew his knife, jumped down, and when he did, the wolf turned on him. And in the fray, Benoit ended up being stabbed with his own knife when the wolf swiped at his hand. The commotion alerted people to the attack, and they chased the wolf away. And as they were chasing it, one person in the crowd was able to hit the wolf with whatever weapon they had, which left an obvious injury on the wolf as it was running away.
Oh, okay.
The young girl, she died at the scene, but Benoit survived for a few days after the attack, which left him enough time to tell the townspeople that the wolf that had attacked him had hands like a human, but the whole body was covered in hair. So people were panicked about the possibility of this having been a monster of some sort, werewolf, namely. So the search was on. And as people were on really high alert, a young woman named Perinette Gandillon was seen in town, and she was mysteriously wounded in the exact same spot that the werewolf had been injured during the chase. So,
ooh, a she-wolf.
I know, a she-wolf. Because of her injury, they were immediately suspicious of her, and unfortunately for her, one of the people that lived in this town at the time was Henri Boguet, who was a notorious and ruthless witch hunter. So he was all about
of course he
trying to catch these people.
Oh, damn.
So he arranged a mob to capture Perinette, and she was executed shortly after. And even after her death, Boguet, the witch hunter, he continued to investigate the whole Gandillon family, who he claimed to have witnessed walking around on all fours, barking, howling, and always having mysterious cuts and scratches on their skin, which maybe they had eczema. Like, leave them alone.
I mean,
I can
for
relate.
sure. Also, though, that does sound a little like Jacob Black and his family.
Yes.
Except in your research, does it say anything about werewolves healing super fast? Because isn't that always part of the lycanthrope thing?
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that, but I think that is like in movies for sure.
In the lore. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was after them. Then he had them arrested. The daughter, Antoinette, she confessed to witchcraft, but Perinette's 2 sons never made any confession, but they were all burned at the stake.
Jeez!
So, yeah. In this case, I guess it seemed like the lycanthropy was a form of witchcraft, because they were able to, like, change into wolves of their own volition without the cycles of the moon, without some sort of object to help them do it. So, interesting. Yes. All right.
Also kind of sad. A lot of people died.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of death in these stories. So,
I mean, it is the 1500s, so kind of to be expected. But
Yep. So, yeah, this next one is especially gruesome. So, be prepared for that.
Buckle up.
Yeah, because this was recorded in a pamphlet at the time that it happened, and translated into English actually at the same time, which for some reason this website made this distinction. That was like, it was a big deal because it was translated into multiple languages.
And this that would be a big deal. In that time, right?
Yeah, because this was also in the 1590s, so
wow, okay,
long ago. Okay, and this story was recorded based on the testimony from the werewolf, quote unquote, himself, aka the Bedburg werewolf, which this was in Bedburg, Germany, and this was recorded prior to his execution. So, spoiler alert, he's gonna die. But the man, this werewolf's name is Peter Stube, though I also saw Stump and Staub, so I'm just going to call him Peter. And Pita. He was described in this pamphlet as having been inclined to evil from a very young age. He made a pact with the devil, but in that pact he didn't ask for wealth or notoriety, but he wanted a way to, quote, exercise his malice on men, women, and children in the form of a beast.
Dude, come on. Like, find a hobby.
Yeah.
Find a hobby, or like find Jesus, or both. God damn. I don't want to exercise my malice as me. I want to make it even scarier for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Cute.
I want to be a monster. Is that too much to ask? Yeah.
Is that too much to ask? Lucifer, please?
Please. So, yeah.
Please, Satan, please. Okay, just to clarify, you are not welcome in here, Satan. I am not speaking to a real Satan. This is a hypothetical, joking Satan. I'm just going to stop saying the word.
Yeah, all right. That's done now. Okay, wrap that up.
Moving on.
But, yeah, the devil, in this case... okay, in this case, the devil gave him a belt, and one website that I looked at called it a girdle, which I think is kind of funny to picture that.
I really wanted you to say the devil went down to George. Okay, wait, a girdle?
Yeah.
Was that like normal garb at the time? For men?
I guess. Not for men. I don't know why they called it a girdle. But yeah, this girdle gave Peter the power to transform into a wolf.
Bro.
Yeah.
Of all the things.
I know. One site called it a belt, one called it a girdle. A girdle is funnier, so we'll go with that.
Okay. I just looked it up really quick. Men did wear them because they also wore corsets.
They did? What? I didn't know
Allegedly.
That.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Not for a long time, but yeah, men did at some point.
Interesting.
Bro, he's looking snatched. So snatched. Okay, I'm definitely going to send this afterwards. Okay. But yeah, men were probably trying to like cinch in that
their waist.
All right. Snatch that waist. Pita.
He was just trying to be fashionable. And so is the devil.
And also
the devil
murdery.
Knew what the style was at the time.
Yeah. The devil is a la mode.
Yep. A la mode. Okay. So he has his girdle. He can turn into a wolf. And Peter would search for victims in town. And anyone who he didn't like or who insulted him were the first to go, of course. But eventually he was pretty indiscriminate with his choices. And he became very bloodthirsty. His victims included 2 pregnant women and 13 children, including his own son, who he killed by eating his brain.
He did what?
Yeah. His son.
That is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here
he's like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. There's more. So this pamphlet describes his MO as plucking out his victims' throats and tearing their joints asunder. And as for the pregnant women, he described enjoying the unborn children as dainty morsels. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm gonna projectile. I cannot. That is
no.
Oh, I have full body chills. That is absolutely
heinous.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Heinous.
It's
to the nth. Oh my god.
This 1590s author says it is the most monstrous act that ever man heard of, for never was known a wretch from nature so far degenerate. So that's exactly what I was going to say, too.
I was going to say, I wish we still spoke like that. I'm like, that's gross. I'm going to vom.
Yeah.
Never such a wretch.
It's the same, you know? It's the point gets across.
And tore their joints asunder. Jeez. Oh my god.
So,
he needs therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. But finally, Peter was caught in his wolf form while he was eating a farmer's livestock. And he was surrounded by, like, everyone in town and their dogs, and they unleashed the dogs on him. Peter realized he would not be able to escape this time, So he transformed from wolf into his human form, and the people watching this event were so shocked to see that it was Peter because they recognized him as like their neighbor who would smile and wave as he passed through town. So he was a sicko.
Okay, I was not imagining him being this like friendly guy. Like he was just like, ew.
He was a psychopath, either a werewolf or a serial killer psychopath cannibal. So, yeah, but the dogs were called off of him. Peter was arrested and questioned, which is how we have all of this information. But then he was tortured and executed by burning at the stake, and his magic girdle was never found. I shouldn't laugh at that.
Amy, a lot of people were brutally murdered. Stop laughing at the girdle. It's funny though, especially when you look at what the photo looks like.
I can't wait to see it.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
That's Peter. Moving on. So these I lumped together because they all claim to have gotten an ointment from the devil that gave them their power to transform into werewolves. Okay. So these, again, in France. These are all in France and Germany, pretty much. Did you send me that picture?
Yeah, I did.
It's downloading.
Like, wow. Those proportions. Look at those hips. Ooh.
Amazing.
What a wretch.
I've never seen a man more gorgeous in my life.
A fetch wretch. Imagine that.
Oh, we found it. Amazing.
We'll post it for everyone. Don't you worry.
Please. Okay, so werewolf ointment. All right. So there's Pierre Bourgeot, Michel Verdun, Gilles Garnier, who eventually became known as the Werewolf of Dole, and Jacques, Jean, and Julien Roulet. Do you like my
all
French
three
accents?
Yeah, I was going to say your French is sounding excellent.
Thank you.
Tested today.
Doing my best.
You're doing wonderfully.
Okay, so those first three that I listed, their stories are kind of straightforward, still terrible, but they confessed to murdering children in their wolf form after swearing an allegiance to the devil at the time that he gave them that ointment to turn into a wolf. But Jacques, Jean, and Julien's story has a bit more detail. So this is again in 1598. And a group of people came upon a brutally murdered 15-year-old boy. And his wounds were clearly very fresh, so that group of people decided to immediately start a search for his killer. And some of the people in the search party spotted 3 wolves who startled and bounded into the forest when they saw them. And being armed, the searchers decided to follow. And when they reached the spot where they had seen the wolves, though, they were shocked to find Jacques Roulet in torn clothing and with bloody hands. So, yeah, they found him there looking haggard, covered in blood. He was arrested and he confessed to his crime, also revealing that the other 2 wolves the group had seen were his brother and his cousin, Jean and Julien, who also made use of that ointment that they got from the devil to transform into wolves.
Oh,
so
my God.
Yeah.
Wait, that's actually like, I mean, I know this is ancient, but
yeah,
that's actually like kind of compelling.
Yeah, I know. And it goes on actually that Jacques, during his confession, he named specific dates and specific places of where they had perpetrated other crimes. And when they checked them against records, which I'm sure were rudimentary, but they had some,
right.
They all checked out, and some of the people were even recorded as having been killed by wolves. So,
whoa,
yeah, compelling.
That's really that like gave me the chills a little bit. That's werewolves are one of the ones that I'm like, oh, that's not real. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Ooh, that like kind of gives me the wick.
No, I know. And they were saying like maybe he was tortured into confessing these things. Of course, that could have been like they said, did you do this on this day in this place?
Yeah.
But still, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And Jacques, he was sentenced to death. His sentence was werewolfism, cannibalism, and murder.
Okay.
But before he was executed, he contested his sentence with the Parliament of Paris, saying that he gave his confession under duress. And shockingly, they accepted this, and he was released to an institution where he was given a religious education for several years. And I don't know what happened to him or to his cousin or brother after that. Excuse me. And the only follow-up that I saw to it was that people now speculate that this ointment was probably like a hallucinogen of some kind, could have caused delusions or violent behavior, etc. So that's them.
I just think about like, okay, so say it was some sort of like hallucinogenic. So where'd they get it though?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, unless they stumbled upon it, somehow got it on them, and then imagined or hallucinated that the devil gave it to them.
Right.
But then that like chronology doesn't really line up. Maybe I'm giving them too much. I don't know. I think maybe I want it to be real, and so I'm trying to come up with something that makes sense in my head. But
no, I get it.
I don't know, man. It's kind of sick.
Yeah. Plus, presumably people were getting their herbs and whatever they were using for medications in the same places. Mm-hmm. So why would only one family or one odd person have this certain reaction or certain herb, whatever, that others didn't?
Well, and like the like killed by wolves thing, like sure they could have like offered that up, but so they're just like offering up every death on record by a wolf. Like, right. I don't know, that would be weird that he would know the details. Mm-hmm. If the deaths were like, you know, and again, it's kind of rudimentary at the time, probably in terms of like their investigation process, but I don't know, it just seems a little seems a little sus to me.
Yeah, I agree. That one is a interesting one.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is the last like historical one before we get to some more modern ones, but this is again in France, Jean Grenier. So, in 1603, I didn't write down the name of the town. This is France, though. Children began to go missing, including one infant baby who disappeared from his cradle while his mother was in the other room of their home. Okay. So finally, after this was happening for a while, 2 would-be victims were able to escape from this kidnapper, and both confirmed that it was somebody who had the ability to transform into a giant wolf that was behind the disappearances. So, of course, this was the talk of the town, and a 14-year-old boy, who's Jean Grenier, was heard boasting about being the one who was behind the attacks. And Jean confided in the girl that he hoped to marry one day that he would don a wolf skin that gave him the power to transform into a werewolf and go out hunting with a pack of 9 others who were also in possession of wolf skins to turn into werewolves. So, after hearing his story, this girl immediately snitched on him.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he really thought that was going to, like, win her over.
I'll keep your secret forever.
Yeah, fuck that.
I guess the other detail was that he was extremely dirty, and she was like, that's what she asked him, like, why are you always so dirty? And he said, it's because of the wolf skin that I put on. every week.
Ew.
That's just dirty. So that's kind of funny.
Take a bath.
Yeah.
Come on.
But she told on him, he was arrested, and he gave a full confession of everything, reportedly without the need for torture. So, and he explained that he met another boy named Pierre, who was the one who took him in the night to meet the so-called Lord of the Forest, who gave Jean an icy kiss and a mark on his thigh. And the Lord of the Forest also gave the boy a wolf skin, quote, which transformed him into a wolf and cautioned him never to cut his left thumbnail, which now resembled a claw. So I don't know if that's the devil, but it's the Lord of the Forest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he confessed, like I said, to murdering several of the missing children, and he also was able to give specific details about time and place that made his story really compelling. And despite his confession, he was also spared from execution and was sent to an institution and then eventually to a friary to receive religious education. And this was probably because he was only 14, so they were, giving him a little leeway. But in 1610, someone who went to visit the friary where he had been sent to live wrote down an account of an encounter with him, and they said, quote, Grenier had fierce, sunken black eyes, long teeth that looked like fangs, and his hands were like talons with long and crooked nails. He would often rush around on all fours and seemed better able to move in this way than on two legs. He loved to hear talk of wolves, and the friars reported that in his early days at the friary, he would only eat raw meat.
Oh,
yeah. So something's up with him, whether it was some actual condition of some kind, or if he was a werewolf, who's to say? But
honestly, I'm going with the werewolf theory.
Yeah, I think so too.
Seems the most plausible.
Agreed. Or the one I most want it to be.
Yeah, it's that. It's definitely that.
Yep. Okay. So now some modern-ish ones. So jumping ahead to the 1930s, and this is ongoing. It's the Beast of Bray Road, which is also sometimes called the Wisconsin werewolf. So this is in Wisconsin in the United States. And the Beast of Bray Road is described as a humanoid being around 7 feet tall when it stands on its hind legs. The body is more human than wolf, but the head of this beast is reported to look like that of a wolf. So the very first reported sighting of the beast occurred in 1936 when Mark Shackleman, who was the night watchman for the area's school, was out patrolling the grounds. And he saw a shadow and eventually spotted a hunched form on all fours digging at something on the ground. When he saw Mark, the creature bared its teeth and snarled, eventually standing up from all fours, looking to be nearly 7 feet tall, but it never moved to attack Shackleman, who was just left stunned by what he was seeing. So that was the first, but there were sightings of a similar creature here and there until the 1980s and 90s, when there was a huge uptick in the number of people that were seeing something on Bray Road. Mm-hmm. And because of all these sightings, a reporter named Linda Godfrey was assigned to speak with the people who had witnessed the creature. And she initially was really skeptical, but she completely converted after hearing their stories, and has since dedicated her life to learning about this Beast of Bray Road, and she's written books and everything.
Oh, I want to look these up.
Yeah, she has some videos that I watched on YouTube. It's pretty cool. But just a couple quick stories of encounters with this Beast of Bray Road. One woman who lives along that road said she saw something outside her house, and later went out and discovered that there were huge scratch marks on her horse's back. This was in a YouTube video. A man named Steve Kruger said that he saw the beast while he was out doing his job of removing roadkill from the road. And he said that he had just picked up a deer that had been hit, and he placed it in the back of his truck, got back into the truck to fill out some paperwork, and then he felt the truck move as if there was some really heavy weight in the back in the truck bed. So he looked behind him and he saw this wolf-like creature eating the deer that he had in his truck bed. So
that would be terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. So scary. So, yeah.
And that was the 80s?
Yes, 80s, 90s.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. And there actually is, I think there are 2 movies, and I think they're both called The Beast of Bray Road about this. So I looked them up. They both have like 1 star. So
classic.
They're not good movies, but could be fun to watch.
Okay. Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah. Okay. So then after those stories, I just went onto Reddit out of curiosity to see if there was anything more recent. And I found one from 2021. And she didn't actually see anything, but it occurred on Bray Road. So I think we can draw some conclusions.
Yeah.
So her username, or their username, I should say, because I don't know, is Squish388. And this is the story. So as I was driving, my driver's side sensor picked up a car next to me in the oncoming lane. I thought this was weird because I have a 2021 car that picks up the size, like a human, car, or bike will show on the dashboard. I kept slowing down to see what it was, but it was basically black out on the back roads, and I couldn't see anything in my mirror. I found it weird because it wasn't just a moment or a glitch, like it was following right next to me.
Oh.
So she didn't see it, but it was something big enough to register.
I don't like that.
Yeah. As a car. Like registered as a car. Which is
God.
scary.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge.
Something. Yeah. So, Beast of Bray Road. I don't know.
That's spooky.
Yeah. And there are some videos or images, but those look fake to me.
Okay.
I can kind of believe that maybe there is something, but these images are not. It looks
doctored,
yeah. It looks like roadkill or something that they set up in a standing position.
Oh no. Or those the Yeti spotted full stride.
Exactly.
And you're like, really?
Why are they all in the same position?
Were they all in the same position? I do want to see the videos that woman made though. I'm interested to see those.
Yeah.
We could post those on the Facebook group.
Okay. Yes.
Beast of Bray Road.
Yes. It's a good name too.
It is a good one.
Okay. Then these are the last few, and they're both from England. And I think that this should be our next Haunted Places episode.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
So specifically this last one, there's so many UFO sightings, some weird apparitions of children with black eyes.
Yes, and black-eyed kids. Yes.
And also these things, I didn't write it down, but I think it was called the Hexam heads or something. Ooh. That are these tiny little head figurines that are some weird
heads.
Yeah, so we should definitely do that. But
hell yeah.
These are 2 different places, sort of close by, but both in England. And this first one talks about a werewolf that has been around for centuries in the same place. Whoa. And so long that they actually call it Old Stinker. So funny.
Old Stinker?
He's just being a stinker. But he's around, and
does he kill people?
Not people, but he does kill pets.
No.
So, yeah, he is... described similarly to all the other werewolves, like a humanoid creature that is, quote, formidably tall with a long, powerful tail that can sweep its prey off their feet. Its luminous blood-red eyes were compared to crimson and darting fire. However, unlike the others, Old Stinker is described as having a very human face. So more wolf body, human face.
Oh, that's
with red
so
eyes.
much creepier. That's so much creepier.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So he has been spotted over the years attacking and killing pets, including 2 people who saw it carrying a German shepherd in its mouth. So those are not small dogs.
No.
It's also been seen chasing after or attacking cars, and other people said that they regularly hear loud, low growling when they're out for walks, and their pets, of course, act totally strangely when they hear that sound. So, yeah, that's Old Stinker. And then this other one is the Werewolf of Cannock Chase. And this is a much more modern one. This is the place that I think we should talk about because it's said, all these creepy things are said to have started when a 17-year-old boy in the area made a deal with a devil while playing with a Ouija board.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know. And so this 17-year-old, he was found the day after having done the Ouija board dead, stabbed with a silver knife.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Which,
all right, next week we're doing this shit next week.
Agreed. And the knife, they said, was silver, which is, they say, werewolf the best way to kill a werewolf. So, yeah. But since that time, there have been 35 reported sightings of a werewolf or human-wolf hybrid. And yeah, so I think we'll save some more details on that one for next time.
Holy crap. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
I know. I hope we can find good information because, yeah, it sounds like too good to be true.
I have faith.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the story of Jacob Black. So
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I am going to be talking about vampires. So for anyone who lives under a rock, vampires are typically evil, mythological beings who roam the world at night searching for people whose blood they can feed upon. They may be the best known classic monsters. You can think of Count Dracula from Bram Stoker's novel and all of the movies that have been made, or even like short series and stuff. There's also like Nosferatu, and there's tons of vampires. And I talked about a lot of the pop cultural references last week too. But the history of vampires began long before Bram Stoker was even born. So there are a lot of different characteristics that vary across different vampire legends, and a lot of different cultures have vampire legends. But the main characteristic of vampires, which can either be spelled I-R-E-S or Y-R-E-S, is drinking human blood. They typically drain their victim's blood using their sharp fangs, killing them, and then turning their victim into a vampire. So there are a lot of rules in like different shows and movies about how you turn someone. Usually there has to be like, if you drain someone's blood, if a vampire drains someone's blood and they just die, they just die. But if they drink the vampire's blood in return, or there's some other like ceremonial kind of thing, they can be turned into a vampire as well. Others, it's just you're bitten, you can turn, so long as you die. In general, vampires hunt at night since sunlight weakens their powers. Some may have the ability to morph into a bat or even a wolf, which is kind of interesting because I've really only heard the bat thing before. They have super strength usually, and typically have some sort of like hypnotic and kind of sensual effect on their victims. They can't see their image in a mirror, and they cast no shadows, according to the main legends. So going back a little bit to or not back, but returning to the topic of Bram Stoker and Dracula, it is thought pretty widely that Count Dracula is actually based on a real living historical figure, Vlad the Impaler.
Crazy.
His name is also Vlad Dracul.
Mm-hmm.
Spelled the same, just drop the A. He was born in, of course, Transylvania, Romania. And he ruled Wallachia, Romania. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that. Off and on from 1456 to 1462. Historians describe him as a just yet brutally cruel ruler, which those seem like they should be
doesn't go together.
Exclusive, but okay. Who they say valiantly fought off the Ottoman Empire. I'm not really seeing like the valiant part, but it's fine.
No.
He earned his nickname because his favorite way, but reminder, Vlad the Impaler, his favorite way to kill his enemies was to impale them on a wooden stake. So you're seeing a lot of themes here.
Yes.
According to legend, Vlad Dracul enjoyed dining amidst his dying victims and dipping his bread in their blood.
Ew. Sicko.
Sicko.
Yeah.
Whether those tales are true is actually still unknown, which, as you can imagine, of course, they're unknown. But many people believe these stories sparked Stoker's imagination to create Count Dracula, who's also from Transylvania, drank blood, and could be killed by driving a stake through his heart. According to a Dracula, like the book, the original book expert, her name is Elizabeth Miller, Stoker actually did not base Count Dracula's life on Vlad Dracul. Nonetheless, the similarities are interesting. So there's like some, people are like contradicting each other on that, but vampire superstition was huge in the Middle Ages, similar to like the werewolf paranoia and witch, all the mania. It was just another one of those. And it was really, like peaked around the time of the plague. And the reason for that is the disease often left behind bleeding mouth lesions on its victims. And so to the uneducated at the time, it was like, oh, that's a sure sign of vampirism. So it wasn't uncommon for anyone with an unfamiliar physical or emotional illness to be labeled a vampire. Many researchers, this is actually interesting, many researchers have pointed to porphyria, which is a blood disorder that can cause severe blisters on skin that's exposed to sunlight. As a disease that may have been linked to the vampire legend. So there are actually some like scientific explanations for some of the things like the in the sun. Maybe that's where I got the wrong hands, but
it makes sense now.
And what's interesting, some symptoms of porphyria can be temporarily relieved by ingesting blood.
Whoa. Weird.
Yeah. And this is from history.com, by the way. So this isn't like some sketchy ass source.
Someone's blog.
Yeah, exactly. Other diseases like Goth Girl blog or something. Other diseases blamed for promoting the vampire myth include rabies or goiter. So also kind of makes sense. Like foaming at the mouth, like all of that. When a suspected vampire died, their bodies were often disinterred to search for signs of vampirism. In some cases, a stake was thrust through the corpse's heart to make sure they stayed dead. Other accounts describe the decapitation and burning of the corpses of suspected vampires well into the 19th century, which is kind of interesting. Mercy Brown may rival Count Dracula as the most notorious vampire. Unlike Count Dracula, however, and this could be argued, Mercy was a real person. She lived in Exeter, Rhode Island, and was the daughter of George Brown, who was a farmer. After George lost many family members, including Mercy, in the late 1800s to tuberculosis, his community used Mercy as a scapegoat to explain their deaths. It was common at the time to blame several deaths in one family on the, quote, undead. The bodies of each dead family member were often exhumed and searched for signs of vampirism. When Mercy's body was exhumed and didn't display severe decay, which was not that surprising since her body was actually placed in an above-ground vault during a New England winter.
Oh.
The townspeople accused her of being a vampire and making her family sick from her icy grave. They cut out her heart, burned it, and then fed the ashes to her sick brother. Perhaps not surprisingly, he died shortly thereafter.
Oh, God. Yikes.
Yeah. So they tried to heal him.
Yeah.
The dead sister. It was so messed up.
Yeah. Oh, the things they thought of.
I know. Wild. So obviously we don't have the same vampire mania that they had in that time. However, there are people, and I mentioned them last week, that do call themselves vampires. And they're seemingly normal people who drink small amounts of blood in parentheses, they say perhaps misguided effort to stay healthy. Communities of self-identified vampires can be found on the internet and cities and towns around the world. To avoid rekindling vampire superstitions, most modern vampires keep to themselves and typically conduct their, quote, feeding rituals, which include drinking the blood of willing donors in private. Some vampires don't ingest blood, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, like energy vampires or people who are like sexual vampires, I think was the other one. I can't remember the right term for it, but
tantric.
Tantric, that was it. Thank you. Many of them state, regardless of what kind of life force they consume, if they don't feed regularly, they become agitated and or depressed. So that's a little background on the vampires. And honestly, I was just so captured by Jacques Saint Germain. I'm coming back. We're coming back for more because there is more. Okay. So as a brief recap, so this very eccentric man came to New Orleans, located at 1039 Royal Street, if his home still exists, I don't know. He was a ladies' man, usually seen with a beautiful woman on his arm, strolling the French Quarter, or clubbing in elegant locales. He loved throwing elaborate dinner parties, and he fascinated his guests with stories of France, Italy, Africa, and even Egypt, which obviously at that time was quite unusual to have traveled to all of those places. And he wasn't old at this time. So people were delighted, because he's French, delighted and amused by his grasp of the English language. He was a perfect English speaker. They were a bit confused, though, when he spoke of events hundreds of years in the past with a lot of precise detail, as though he himself had participated. Many guests just thought, oh, he's just a storyteller. It's entertainment. But not long after his arrival to New Orleans, he claimed that he was a direct descendant of the Comte de Saint Germain. So he, who was a close friend and servant to King Louis XV in the 18th century. So he was like, oh, I'm a direct descendant. We share the same last name, whatever. It's not unbelievable. The claim aroused some skepticism, but he really distinctly resembled the Comte. So people were like, okay. Some guests noted that portraits never depicted the Comte as older than 40, which is the same age that Jacques had appeared since he'd arrived in New Orleans. So this is where it starts to get a little oh, this is kind of weird. People were like, oh, it's entertaining and he's, fun and party boy. And then it was it was kind of weird. And also he doesn't eat with us at dinner. He just sips on wine, presumably. So rumors started to spread in jest that he may in fact be the Comte himself, somehow rendered immortal and ageless. Jacques himself seemed to actually enjoy the mystery he'd created around his persona and neither confirmed nor denied it. But he never partook in his own food. He would often stand apart from the dinner table itself. He wouldn't sit at the dinner table and not eat. He would stand to the side drinking something out of a beautiful chalice. Basically. Wow. So very strange habit of not partaking in the meals. Some people were like, maybe he's a vampire.
Just kidding.
And then things take a dark turn.
Oh, boy.
So the police were called to Saint Germain's home to investigate the circumstances leading to a woman who had seemingly fallen from his gallery, which I think I had mentioned last week as well. So she was rumored to have been a prostitute, and she actually leapt from the balcony, which was a full story above the ground floor, not fallen. So she didn't fall, she jumped. And she survived the fall, and she was terrified. So people on the street are like coming up to her like, are you okay? What happened? What's wrong? She was hysterical and started ranting that she had jumped to escape Saint Germain, who had bitten her neck. She screamed and sobbed out her story, claiming she was only able to escape when her assailant was briefly distracted by a rather loud knocking on his door. She was taken to the hospital as soon as possible. The police suspected that she'd become delusional or maybe was drunk or whatever. Told Saint Germain, don't bother coming in for questioning tonight, but come in the morning and we'll go over what happened. Police were very confident that there was a reasonable explanation for what had transpired. And of course, she's an alleged prostitute. He's this like very well-liked man about town. Yeah. So of course they're like, you're good, Jacques.
You can come back later.
Get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So the next morning, he never appeared at the police station. And no one ever saw him again in New Orleans. All of his stuff he basically left behind. So it's just left, like just up and vanished. Legend suggests that upon breaking into his house, this part is unconfirmed, the police were cautious and in great anticipation of what they might encounter. On the second floor of the house, they discovered a series of open but corked wine bottles. Upon closer investigation, they discovered the large collection of bottles were filled with a terrifying mixture of wine along with large quantities of human blood. He was never seen again.
What a
he
lovely
disappeared
bouquet.
just as mysteriously. What a lovely bouquet. He disappeared just as mysteriously as he had arrived. Of course, his contemporaries were shocked at the scandal. They felt betrayed and fooled, probably also a little disappointed that he was gone. But there was people have noted over and over the resemblance between he and the Comte, who should have been dead at that point. Yeah. So really interesting. So there are some other comparisons and just questions how exactly did the vampire thing start, and did that come from what happened with the prostitute, or was that really talked about before? It's kind of hard to keep track of gossip at that time. 20th century New Orleans socialites noted his resemblance to the Comte, and the similarities don't actually end there. So the stories of both Saint Germains closely parallel each other, although the elder has a great deal more written material to actually look into because he was so close to the king. But there was a lot of mystery, a lot of speculation, a lot of silliness that kind of came around the Comte. He was very similar personality to Jacques, it seems. One, based on the things written about him, historians have said he almost sounds like a fictional character. He's just very silly, which seems kind of odd for
the time.
And for his role. It's not like he was a nobody. For example, a letter from Horace Walpole, the 4th Earl of Oxford, to his friend Horace Mann provides the first unchallenged reference of Saint Germain. An odd man who goes by the name of Comte Saint Germain. He had been here these 2 years and will not tell who he is or whence, but professes that he does not go by his right name. He sings, plays on the violin wonderfully, composes, is mad, and is not very sensible. He is called an Italian, a Spaniard, a Pole, a somebody that married a great fortune in Mexico and ran away with her jewels to Constantinople. A priest, a fiddler, a vast nobleman. The Prince of Wales has had unsatiated curiosity about him, but in vain. So he was just he sounds like something Shakespearean. He sounds made up.
He does.
There are no official birth records available, which makes sense. So the true origins of the Comte are, historians disagree about them. But he was most likely born at Lentmeritz in Bohemia at the end of the 17th century, and is said to have been the youngest son of Prince Franz Leopold Ragosi of Transylvania and the Princess Charlotte Amalia of Hesse-Wanfried. So he likely was just some like royal noble born kid. And then because of the political environment there at the time, he was, as a baby, most likely placed under the care of the last Medici, the last of the Medici family.
Oh, wow.
Gian Gastoni, which many have speculated may have contributed to him being super educated, him being very rich. And so anyway, a lot of people have kind of jumped on that bandwagon about him being a Ragosi and some of those details. But he was just a very, very odd man. And he never gave his real name to anyone but the King of France. So no one even knows his name. He was just the Comte.
Wow.
So lots of like, fantastical stories have been spun about him since then, but he seemed like kind of a fantastical guy. Yeah. So it's hard to tell what's history and what's, embellished, but very interesting. He may still be walking.
Who knows?
The earth. Who knows?
I'm gonna keep
see a guy that
photo.
looks like the Instagram from our last week. I have to say, just one really funny thing. There's a photo. There are photos throughout this article, and there is one that I will absolutely be posting on our Instagram as the header photo because it is so funny. And in italics underneath, as if you couldn't tell, it says representation of a vampire who has bitten someone.
Oh.
It's got like teeth,
in
the blood.
You couldn't
like,
tell.
I got that. Thanks.
Understood.
Oh shit. Understood. But so there's also a photo of Francis II Rakosi, who was probably one of his, not descendants, ancestors, I guess, or someone older in his family line. But it seems like that family line didn't really like get tracked much longer after him. So anyway, he's a very interesting dude, and I honestly am like,
I love that story.
Either that or like reincarnated. I don't know. There's something very odd about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Something very, very odd about that.
Yeah. He's probably still just hanging out in high society.
Hanging out, biting prostitutes. Yeah, probably. He's at like Soho House. He's just kicking it, sipping on a Manhattan.
He was on Gossip Girl.
Absolutely. XOXO. Yeah. It's the Comte, baby. XOXO. Comte Saint Germain. I love it.
Yep. Wow. I want to believe that he's around.
Me too. I really want to believe that. We're going to believe that. We believe that. Okay, cool. Yeah. So
maybe
we'll see
we'll
you around, Jacques. Actually, let's not. Let's not try to see him around. Maybe from a distance. Like a werewolf from a distance. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Just so we know we saw it.
Just so we know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning into our Twilight edition of Girls Gone Oh Spooky.
Yes.
We're definitely going to take a little leap over the pond to England for some haunted cités next week. And then we've got some other fun topics upcoming soon that are going to be also in the same category of like other weird
beings.
Yep. Ghouls.
Yes.
Ghouls. Actually, not literally ghouls, but other goblins.
Goblins.
Yep. Oh, God. Well, with that, stay spooky, my friends. We will catch you next week.
Yep.
Follow us on social. We'll post some videos for you guys on the Facebook page. Yep. And write us with any spooky stories you got, guys. girlsgonespooky@gmail.com.
Yes. Want to hear from
friends.
you. Stay spooky.
We want to hear.
Bye. Bye.